Hey guys, John here, and welcome back to John Doss. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Innioasis Y1, which is the closest thing you can get to a modern iPod Classic potentially, at least in terms of design. So, is this $50 iPod Classic clone any good though? Well, let's find out. The unboxing experience is pretty pleasant. It comes in a nice box. The device is included, as well as a USB-C to Type A cable, and a set of pretty decent little earbuds. Seriously, they sound pretty good. So, these are my first impressions of the Y1. This is not a long-term review and I cannot speak to its longevity, but I've had it for about 48 hours at press time. Edge has given me a good amount of time to kind of get some basic impressions out of the way. To begin, I will say the design is actually pretty attractive. It's not the most premium feeling thing, but it feels perfectly decent. And the first thing you'll probably see is that good old click wheel looks great, and it functions just like you'd expect. There's also a screen, looks very similar to the sort of configuration you found in the late model iPod Classics, and it's actually pretty good. You know, it's not the brightest thing ever, but the colors pop and it's, perfectly serviceable. The only other thing of note with this design is the bottom of the device, which has a headphone jack, a mic jack, or a mic port, a USB-C port, which only works with USB-C to Type A cables. You can't have a USB-C to USB-C. It just doesn't work. No idea why. As well as a mono speaker. So overall, not much to see on in terms of design, but it works well enough. Now, using the software itself, you'll find that it's got a little bit of lag to it, but it's overall pretty responsive and intuitive, at least for what it is. Can't complain for 50 bucks, that's for sure. You got stuff like music, audiobooks, photos, FM radio, and Bluetooth. Bluetooth works very well, gets plenty loud with my Sony headphones here. Honestly, can't complain. And of course, you have settings to adjust stuff like the equalizer and other basic playback things, although there isn't a lot of customizability in terms of what you can do, at least not with this current firmware. There may be an update out there, but I haven't installed it. Anyway, the only other thing to really talk about is the actual music playback experience. And it does sort your music automatically into groups like albums, artists, genres, and all that, but it doesn't exactly have the most intuitive way of listing it. And when you look at like an artist, for example, it doesn't show their releases, it just shows every song they have, which is a little bit annoying. So you can set up your own folder structure and just browse it like a file explorer, you know what I'm saying? Just view the directories, and so you just kind of manually do it, but it isn't really the most intuitive thing. You also can add songs to playlists on the device, which is cool, but overall, it is a very kind of bare bones experience, but not like it needs to be that complicated. Can't complain too much. And as for the now playing screen, it's alright, although I will say that the giant album artwork kind of cuts off the track name, so if you press the center button, it'll show it in, bigger font and stuff, but it is a little bit, it's laid out a little bit weirdly. I feel like they could have made it work a lot better had they just kind of rearranged things. But it shows all the pertinent information, and really, again, it's fine. That's the thing. You really can't complain too much. It does what it needs to, and it's reasonably responsive. So many of these generic type MP3 players that get, put out there have such terrible software that's completely unintuitive. You're able to figure this out pretty easily. The last thing I will say that I noticed was that the shuffle function was a little bit buggy. Sometimes I would get the same song playing in shuffle that I already listened to, which was weird. But, can't complain too much because again, it's 50 bucks. And for 50 bucks, 128 gigabytes of storage is insane. Now, granted, this is based off of just a kind of generic micro SD card on the board, but you can swap it out and put more in theoretically. Or if the card goes bad, you can just replace it, which is awesome, And so, yeah, there's really not a ton to say thus far, other than it's compelling and it functions way better than you expect. Now, don't go into this thinking it's gonna be an iPod or it's gonna be as premium feeling or responsive as a modded Bluetooth iPod, because it's not. But you're also paying a lot less with today's current iPod market. And while I cannot speak to how it'll hold up, though feel free to like, sub, and leave a comment if you'd like to see a longer term review. I will say this, for what it is, the Y1 seems pretty cool. So you better believe I'm gonna be using it a lot and putting it through its paces. But yeah, I'm pleased. As someone who's owned several iPods, this is pretty sweet. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.